Today I've been sent this story by my editor and I'm going to react to it in this video because if Apple can make such a huge mistake with their content, with their marketing, then there's a few big things we can learn from it as business owners, as coaches, as online content creators as well. So let's dive into it. I'm going to share my screen, go through it together and see what we can learn from this story. So in the most recent iPhone update, so issued a new thin one, what ended up happening is if we have a look here, what ended up happening is their campaign ended up being quite offensive and quite arguably a little bit racist is how it's been perceived at the moment. And here's kind of one big thing we're seeing and one big thing I've kind of picked up on it. So the reference itself and what's ended up happening with Apple when the new iPhone Air, the ultra thin one, is there was a reference in the chaos which basically had the person pinching the iPhone, which is what I've been told, and that in certain Korean kind of traditions is rather offensive and racist. From what I understand, there was some kind of like deeper meaning for that culture in particular. And if you look at even here in their official video, they had to change the entire kind of way that the video was filmed and created. The reason I wanted to cover this topic and actually talk about it is one, because I'm not afraid of jumping into controversy and having a conversation about it, but two, because I think it's a really interesting conversation when it comes to the way we create our content, right? So to me personally, I think what that story demonstrates is that there's no perfect way to create content. There's no way to be vanilla in terms of your content and not offend anyone. And if you're trying to not offend anyone in your content, you're literally going to speak to no one, and you're going to be so scared that to not offend someone, you're going to be so scared to not make a mistake that you're just going to do nothing. You're going to stay on the fence and you're not going to grow and build your coaching business, right? This is one of the worst things you can do when you're starting to create content to build your coaching business. What we want to do instead is a little bit like what Apple did to an extent, right, and what any successful business does. What we want to do instead is be super, super clear with having just one person or one type of person we want to help and we want to work with. This could be a few different things, right? This could be the younger version of ourselves that we're trying to help, or it could be like a community of people we're trying to help. What we want to then do is ask ourselves a very specific question with every piece of content we're creating. The question we want to ask ourselves is this content I'm creating, is it solving a genuine problem for the person I'm wanting to work with? If it's not, then don't bother creating it. But in general, one big thing we can learn from this as well is to do your very best to let go of this fear, of this stress, of this anxiety of trying to people please, of trying to please absolutely everyone with your content, because it's physically impossible. Like, as an example, the minute you start putting your opinion out there in terms of your fitness content and your advice, there may be a personal trainer. There's almost definitely going to be a personal trainer that if you sat opposite them on a table, he may very likely disagree with your opinion to some extent, either about how you do your training or how you do your calories or how you do your nutrition or mindset coaching, right? The world's full of people with different opinions. And if you're trying to people please people that are never going to work with you, you're just going to stay paralyzed and you're not going to grow your coaching business. So let's take a big lesson from Apple, who have literally millions or billions in spend in terms of mastering their content, mastering their sales, their marketing, their ad spend, all of these stuff, yet they're still offending an entire nation by the looks of it, just by a small thing that they didn't really pick up on or they didn't realize. Because I'm guessing maybe what happened is the guy doing the marketing or the content for Apple was an American guy or an English guy or British guy or European guy, and he didn't quite know this piece of content, this literal small thing with pinching the iPhone, could be perceived as offensive in different countries, right? Obviously, with that being said, don't go about trying to be controversial for the sake of being controversial, but use a big lesson here in terms of how you measure your content, how you do it. And it'll make it a lot easier in terms of the type of content you're creating, but also resonating with the people you want to create. I don't really do too many videos like this where I'm reacting to topics and kind of giving my opinion. If you do genuinely like it and you want to see more types of content just like this, make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe, just so I know to post more if you enjoy this type of content where it's a bit more raw. And I'll see you in the next one.